Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about a PvP hunter build that I started using recently and I'm having a really good time with, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Here at the Scrub Hub, I like to keep things simple, especially builds, and keep them easy to follow, and this build is no different. This build also works pretty well with a variety of weapons, so you're not going to feel too forced into using a weapon you're not good with or a playstyle you don't like. Overall, I think it's a really fun build, and you can land some really awesome moments without having to be super sweaty, like it's the 7th match on a Flawless Trials card. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy this video all about Middle Tree Night Stalker. Before I really get into the build for today, I'd just like to say thank you to all of you who have subscribed to the channel and watched my content over these last few months. I know 300 subscribers probably doesn't sound like a ton to you guys, but it's a huge deal to me, and I'm really grateful and honestly just really excited. I'm still blown away to think that people actually want to take time out of their day and watch my content, and I don't take that lightly. I'm really excited to see where things go from here, so yeah, thanks again guys. So for today's video, we're going to be refocusing on a familiar light subclass. This entire build hinges on one perk in Middle Tree Night Stalker for Hunter, Flawless Execution. What we're going to be building off of and focusing on is the true sight and invisibility granted when landing a headshot kill while crouched. So whenever you do land a headshot while crouched, you'll be granted 10 seconds of invisibility with about 3 seconds of true sight, or wall hacks basically. This is our goal right here, proccing Flawless Execution again and again until you just become an invisible nightmare for the enemy team. And if you want to make this perk just stupid good, throw on Graviton Forfeit. Graviton states that invisibility effects are increased, and this does include Flawless Execution. Graviton takes invisibility from a base 10 seconds to 13, which is such a long time to be invisible in a Crucible match. Invisibility is easy to see in Destiny 2, but the main benefit is that you don't appear on sensors, and people rely on sensors really heavily to identify where targets are, so by going invisible for 13 seconds after a kill, you can really make some interesting plays. One thing I like to remember is not to rush it once I proc invisibility. 13 seconds is a long time, and you can really use that time to set yourself up nicely to get a flank or easy snipes or shotgun kills. This build is all about having a little bit of patience. So what I'm going to do is start by getting into how you can proc Flawless Execution consistently and what weapons you should probably try it out with. There are a few different loadout approaches you can take, and I tried about 3 different ones extensively. First was a close quarter primary like a sidearm plus a sniper. Second was a slug shotgun with a mid-range primary, and lastly was actually a slug shotgun and sniper combo. There were some combinations that I liked better than others here, but they all have a pretty good place here in the discussion with some clear pros and cons that I'd like to present to you guys. Part of the reason that I focused on the special weapon as my method of proccing Flawless Execution is because it's a one-shot and you can move along quickly. Using primaries for this build can be frustrating since you end up dueling a lot of times, and that's not something you necessarily want to be doing when you're crouched. Crouching during a gunfight is going to slow you down and make you more vulnerable. It does help, however, though, if you can put some distance between your enemy and yourself, and weapons like Hailing Confusion or Stars in Shadow or just about any scout rifle are both pretty good options for that. And if you do end up rolling with a primary, I highly recommend one that has Firmly Planted. Firmly Planted buffs your accuracy and stability while crouched, which feeds into this build really well since you're going to be crouched anyway. I have a really nice Hailing Confusion with Elemental Capacitor, which grants increased stability since we're using a Void class as well, and Firmly Planted, and I highly recommend it. It's accurate, reliable, and it'll let you lane pretty well. So while I don't favor primaries for proccing this build, there are certainly some really good options out there. Alright, so now we're going to get into the individual setups I used. First combo I thought to try it was a sniper plus a sidearm. My whole idea was that I could land a sniper headshot, sneak in close with true sight and invisibility, and take opponents down with a good close range sidearm. To be honest, this worked out pretty well, and sidearms like Last Hope are really good in this role with very good kill times. As for the sniper I have a couple decent ones. I have a well-rolled Bite of the Fox with Opening Shot and Firmly Planted, which did feel nice. Firmly Planted synergizes perfectly with the build, and I found that I got pretty comfortable with it. For some reason though, one of my favorite kinetic snipers is actually Izanagi's Burden, and that's what I defaulted to most of the time. The zoom is enough, but not too much, the reticle is a nice shape and size, and since no distraction got a buff recently, it's even better for locking down a lane and waiting to grab that headshot. So overall, I think this combination worked well for the build. I was able to land headshots consistently with Izanagi's and then close the gap and mow people down with Last Hope. kind of like a special weapon without costing special ammo in close range. The one thing I did find to be a struggle here was the mid-range game between about 20 and 40 meters. I'm not a great sniper in those ranges, and Last Hope doesn't have the range for that to begin with, so I found that I really had to be careful and play to the strengths of my loadout here. So while this Izanagi and Last Hope serve their purpose well in their ranges, they're probably not going to bail you out when 120 hand cannons are destroying you at about, 30-35 meters. So this leads me into my next build pretty nicely, which is a slug shotgun and a mid-range primary. This build fills the gaps in nicely from the last combo, but kind of forces you into a more aggressive playstyle too. As I mentioned above, I have a really nice Hailing Confusion I used with this build, and that served me pretty well. On top of that, I do have an incredibly well-rolled first and last out for Crucible as well. I mean, seriously, look at this thing. Everything about it specs for range. Hammer forged, accurized rounds, slide shot, opening shot, range masterwork. And although I haven't done specific testing on this shotgun, I believe you can land one shots at around 11 to 12 meters. So between these two options, it wasn't too hard to proc flawless execution. Both the pulse rifle and shotgun were proficient, and once you go invisible after a pulse kill, hunting enemies down with a shotgun is pretty easy pickings too. So it's really good in both mid and short range. What's even better though is that with a slug shotgun specifically, it's very easy to proc flawless execution back into itself by either simply crouching before you take your shot or doing a good old slide shotgun kill. This will refresh your invisibility timer to 13 seconds and also give you another 3 seconds of true sight. It's an incredibly aggressive build, but can also mitigate some of the risk of rushing into a group of enemies since you'll be off sensors most of the time, and whenever you land a kill, you'll be able to see where everyone is around you. It's really insane, and it's just so fun to start chaining kills. It wouldn't be a stretch to go invisible for 30 or more seconds at a time. As far as drawbacks for this combo, you lose your long game range a little bit, and you definitely can't challenge a lot of sniper lanes anymore. But that's generally not a great idea with a primary anyway. And like I mentioned before, this loadout kind of forces you into a fairly aggressive playstyle, so if you prefer to sit back a little more and choose your shots carefully, this may not be the route you want to take. Overall though, the general versatility and ease of use that this build offers, along with how easily you can chain invisibility into itself, yeah, I can't help but recommend this as a pretty solid option. Also, if you're going to be totally meta about this, Chaperone is just the best choice for a slug shotgun. Once you get Roadborne, the range on it is just insane, and it becomes much easier to chain headshot kills. I'm just kind of a weirdo, and, sometimes I like using Izanagi's Burden in PvP. Alright, we are moving right along to the last loadout I used with this build, and was probably the most fun I had with it, and also the most risky of the loadouts. I paired Izanagi's Burden with my god rolled first in, last out slug shotgun. Both of these weapons are highly precision based, and basically anytime you land a kill you should be getting flawless execution. However, pairing two special weapons in the Crucible is always going to make you struggle for ammunition, so I'd recommend running some scavenger mods here. Although I think in a way the ammo shortage was actually what made me enjoy this build more, and it forced you to play with this scrappy, tenacious feel and make your shots count and choose your battles carefully. It forced me to play the Crucible in a way that was a little more thoughtful and less bullheaded, which never hurts. If you can start rolling with a sniper and a shotgun, plus all the invisibility and true sight, you can go on really significant streaks and have a good time. I didn't expect to do well with this, honestly. I was kind of expecting it to be a meme, but this loadout turned out to be pretty viable and just regular quick play. Landing snipes can easily chain into more snipes with those few seconds of true sight, allowing you to line up shots on targets that haven't even left their cover yet. And as someone who isn't really amazing with snipers, I can't tell you how good and how helpful this is. Just look at the gameplay here. These people have little to no time to actually react as they come around cover. Not to mention, if you run out of ammo or targets, you can use all that invisibility you just earned to close the gap and hunt with your shotgun, which is just as capable at proccing flawless execution. It actually works surprisingly well and is a really fun, aggressive build. Again, this build kind of suffers in mid-range like the first one, but has pretty decent ease of use if you position yourself in optimal ranges for your sniper and your shotgun. This loadout was pretty fun. It was a much different way to play the Crucible, and if you guys are just looking to mix things up a little bit, I totally recommend it. I hope as I was presenting these options for you that you were already thinking of your own weapons or ways that you can utilize this simple build synergy between Middle Tree Night Stalker and Graviton Forfeit. I just really wanted to highlight a few different ways you can try and capitalize off this build based on your playstyle. So before I wrap things up here, I just wanted to highlight one more loadout that I didn't mention out of this bunch yet. It's kind of special, definitely unique, and I wanted to save it for last, but if you really want to take this build to the next level and be invisible like all the time, then I highly recommend an old trusty sidearm that came out all the way back in vanilla Destiny 2. Rat King is the perfect exotic to pair with this build because of how well it performs in close quarters, but more importantly, its exotic perk. Rat King will heal you if you have the catalyst, and also turn you invisible after landing a kill and reloading. As it turns out, Rat King is actually affected by Graviton Forfeit as well, increasing the duration from about 6 seconds to 8 seconds, which is just fantastic. So whether or not you even land a crouched headshot kill, you're still going to go invisible for quite some time, which will either give you the time to hunt someone down again or take the time you need to land a snipe. It's just kind of a silly, fun build that ends up being actually really good. I'm not saying every match is going to be like this, but in between writing this script here, I took a break and tried a match with this loadout and scored 38 defeats with over a 4.0 KD, so it's pretty viable. If you guys are really looking to max out your sneakiness in the Crucible, then I definitely think this is the route to go. Every kill you land should be getting you invisibility. It may not be a super meta loadout, but it's just a fun way to mix it up and try out something new. There's a lot more I could say about this build, and there's definitely some synergy I'm missing out on, I'm sure. Graviton Forfeit also increases your melee regeneration speed while you're invisible, and I'm sure you could use that somehow. But again, I'm here to provide scrub-friendly advice so you can do the best you can possibly be in the Crucible, and I wanted to just keep things really nice and simple. Overall, using flawless execution isn't too hard, and as long as you pace yourself, it can be really a fun way to set up yourself for some good plays. If you guys do get out there and try this for yourself, let me know how it goes for you and send me your loadout. There's a lot of different directions you can take this build. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you want to see more Destiny content like this every week, hit the subscribe button and make sure to turn on those notifications. Thanks again for watching today, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.